Hey, what's up? Welcome to WPSN99.com. This is Dharma Time. I'm your host, the Dharma Guy, as always with the Dope Doctor. What's going on?
Yeah.
There we go.
Everything's fantastic and perfect, and there's like no flaws today.
Exactly. And for those of you who are watching this current edited version on YouTube, you missed all the fireworks on the live version on Facebook because a lot of technical difficulties today. It's been an interesting day. So anyways, I digress. We're back to schedule. We're on our thing. Let me first thank our sponsors so we can get started on today's show. As always, we have three treatment. You gotta be kidding me!
Yeah, I'm getting all kinds of messages. You're getting messages. You're fuzzy on the YouTube.
My phone's ringing. Anyways, so we have three.
We know.
We have three treatment facilities.
Maybe they want to let us know.
I guess
that there's something going on.
Yes, we have three treatment facilities that we do business with here, and we promote. We got Retreat Behavioral Health, Journey Pure, and Gatehouse Treatment, all three fantastic facilities. And without them, we couldn't do what we do. We have Orange County Drug Free Coalition, which is a huge sponsor of the network and all the different shows. We thank them as well. We have the Now Matters More Foundation, of which, of course, he is the founder. I am the president. What are you doing?
I'm trying to get in. I never saw. Oh God! How do people sit like this?
They don't.
I'm getting. I'm getting.
You can see more at nowmattersmore.org, where you can donate, read about what we do, help out,
or
you can call at 833 Now Matters. That's 833 Now Matters. And as always, we have. Oh, excuse me, one more. Sports Subaru South at OBT.
Yeah, man.
They have a new event called Share the Love. Starts November 15th through December 31st, where they, in combination with Subaru as a whole, will donate $250, so a total of $500 for every car purchased at their location and that time frame. And then, of course, you can follow us on social media. That's at WPSN99, at the Dharma Guy, at the Dope Doctor. Right. And you can check out all the edited versions on YouTube.com/Dharma Time. Okay.
I'm so hungry.
Yes, I'm hungry actually.
I am so starving right now.
Like underneath all that's been happening this morning, I'm hungry.
That's way too many meetings for one morning. I mean, that's way too much work for one morning.
Yes.
I'm so hungry.
Anyways, all right. So, for those of you who were watching last week or listened last week, however you choose to get the show, we were going over the basics, right? The basics of the 4 truths and the Eightfold Path, aka the 12 keys to spirituality. And
Doce llaves. Is that? Do they do a direct translation in Spanish?
I have no clue.
Los 12 llaves.
Oh, that sounds good to me.
I like it.
Anyways, so let's rehash very quickly. The first we got over 4. We got through the first 5, I think, right? There's 12. We didn't even make it halfway.
I don't know.
That's not even 50%. That's not good. No. Anyways, so the first truth that we discussed last week, right? The first one is pain is a part of life.
Had no argument there.
Yes. So pain is a part of life, and for those of you who didn't tune in or were just watching for the first time, pain is a part of life is essentially anything that you deem unsatisfactory on a sliding scale. So something as simple as all the things that have happened to us this morning, all the way to something extreme as in like, a loved one died or something along those lines. So anything that you deem as unsatisfactory is how we define pain, and that is a part of life. No matter what you do, no matter how you choose to live your life, pain is always going to be present in it on some form. The second one is you cause your own suffering. You cause your own suffering through your aversion to the bad and you're clinging to the good. So essentially
I did.
Constantly trying to make life perfect and awesome, trying to make life fit within the box that you think should happen is what's causing your suffering, because your inability to do so is frustrating.
And watch the first episode so you can see my take on that, which I think it should have had the word continued suffering. Like I'm starving right now. I didn't cause myself to starve. Yes, I did.
Yes, you did.
Yes, I did. But there's 300 chickens being cooked, barbecued up there at Mindy's house right now.
300 chickens?
That's what she said.
Holy cow.
300 chicken halves.
Wow.
That's a lot of dead animals.
I'm going to assume that's just not like a week for you. I'm going to assume that's like an actual event, maybe?
That's a lot of hungry people.
300 chicken halves. Wow.
Why would you have to cook 300 chicken halves?
I don't know. I'm assuming she'll tell us.
That's more than 600 people, right?
And Simon says it was all the arguing that slowed it down last week. So there's that.
Hey, argument is a part of life too.
That's right. And the third truth is you don't have to live that way. You don't have to suffer. There is a way out of the suffering. There is a way to live your life. There's a way to approach things from a perspective that does not cause you suffering. The fourth way, the fourth truth, if you will, is the way, right? There is a path, and that is the Eightfold Path. Those are 8 skills in which you develop in yourself that help you achieve the cessation of suffering. So
there's a way, or as other places, other people would probably say, there's an answer. I just don't know
You
it.
can call it whatever you want.
Whatever.
And then number 5 for our 12 keys, or
Is this a new one?
No.
Oh.
This is the last one we're rehashing. So number 5 for our 12 keys, or number 1 for the Eightfold Path, if you're keeping count there, is the right understanding is what it's called. And then understanding 2 main things. Number 1 is the 4 truths are true, no matter how much you might disagree or no matter how much you want to look at them or debate the semantics of it.
Yes.
It's still true. And then the other half you got to remember is your brain is going to deem everything you come across, positive, negative, or neutral, whether you like it or not. It's just how the brain works, and that's okay. It's what you do with it that matters.
Your brain is also always going to tell you that you're right, but most of you are not.
Yeah. So
most of us, I should say, are not.
I think that catches us up, though.
Yes.
Marissa just said she just realizes we did a video 5 months ago called "You Cause Your Own Suffering."
Yes.
Where have you been, Marissa?
Yeah, where have you been?
Anyways, all right. So now here comes number 6 for us, or number 2 of the Eightfold Path, if you're keeping track. And I'm going to go ahead and refer back to my wonderful written word here to just kind of help move things along.
You got a lot of back, so you might as well just go ahead and pat it.
Well, you got there eventually, but that was a long one.
Yeah, it took a while.
All right, so number 6 is this key also falls into 2 main components. You need to stop making decisions and acting based upon harmful mind states such as greed, anger, lust, ignorance, etc. These motivations cause more frustration, anger, and sadness than they prevent. However, you can't simply stop those motivations without also replacing them with more positive and rewarding motivations such as love, compassion, understanding, kindness, etc. This basically boils down to making sure that whatever you're about to say and or do next is coming from a motivation that is going to make your life and everyone else's life more pleasant. Coming from these positive motivations is not only showing that other people love and compassion, but also showing yourself love and compassion. Acting out of negative motivations only cause more suffering for yourself by creating consequences that you don't want. All right, so let me boil that back down.
Yeah.
So second part is called right intentions.
Right intentions.
Yes. So number 2, the Eightfold Path, or the 6th key for us. Okay. And that is 2 main things, right? You got to stop coming from anger, greed, fear, lust, things of that nature.
Whoa, slow down there, Charlie.
And you got to start coming from love, compassion, generosity, kindness, things of that nature.
For the most part.
It's your intent.
For the most part.
Well,
I think you got to come, sometimes they want the love, but sometimes they want a little lust, Trinity.
Nothing wrong with
so
that.
Try to argue that one.
I'm not going to argue lustful thinking. That's why we're all
sometimes
here.
get requested. I want the lust.
I guess
not the love. The love, for the most part.
Here's the example that I always give. Right.
Yeah.
When it comes to intent, oftentimes if we get frustrated and angry at somebody, or at something, or at the situation, we got to figure out what our intent is. Why am I getting this way? Why am I responding? Is it out of true, genuine compassion, or is it through, I'm frustrated because this didn't go the way I wanted to go, vice versa. Right. And we're actually really good at doing this, to be honest with you. Right. There's 3 caveats to that. We're amazing.
There's the first word of the day.
Oh God, you're gonna do that again?
Yeah,
you?
Go ahead.
Oh,
go ahead.
Jesus.
Keep going.
Caveat. That's
keep going.
It.
Don't let me.
I want to see you spell that one. So the caveats would be we're good at this with old people, and I don't mean like you. I mean old people, like 80, 90. Okay. Really little kids, like 2-3-year-olds, and
not like you, but like real little kids.
Exactly,
right.
And animals. Those are the 3 things we're good at. And what I mean by that is most of us. Now, granted, there's going to be an outlier out there that's going to completely disagree with this. I'm not talking to you.
Right.
If a little puppy, your friend shows up to your house, or you show up to your friend's house and they have a little tiny puppy, and you're like, oh, look at this puppy I just got. And you go in to reach for the puppy, and the puppy growls and like snips at you. Ooh. Your average everyday individual, not the outliers, but your average everyday individual would not then like throw the puppy across the room and be like, you got a horrible puppy. I hate this dog. No, most people would be like, they would understand immediately the intent. Yeah, they wouldn't look at the actions. They would immediately understand the intent of it's a little puppy. It's scared. Yeah. It's trying to protect itself. And you wouldn't get all angry and mad about it.
I think a lot of people would just smack it, but they won't smack it as hard as if it was.
They wouldn't throw it across the room.
Yeah.
Like they wouldn't, get.
They're not going to call the law on it and go like that puppy needs to die.
Correct.
But if your pit bull did it,
well, yeah. But my point is, that's where it comes to intent.
Yeah.
You immediately thought of the intent of the dog. You realized where the dog was coming from.
Right.
You understood, blah, blah, blah.
It's like a kid making a joke to you.
Well, and that was like I said, old people, little kids, or animals.
Yeah,
other words, like if a 2-year-old was walking in here right now and came up and punched you in the leg, you'd probably be like, "Look, where's
or ask you why you're so fat."
Yeah,
you wouldn't you wouldn't get all freaked out.
No, but if a grown man walks in here and punches you in the leg, we're going to probably have a different discussion about it, right?
Yeah.
And so, and the point is intent.
Okay,
we think about intent.
Intent's important.
Intent is extremely important.
Right.
We were talking earlier in our business meeting when we talked about karma.
Right.
Once again, if you watch the karma show, that's what karma is really revolved. The karmic fruit, if you will, is all revolved around what your intent was, not the outcome.
Yeah.
So, if your intention was to do harm, regardless of what the actual outcome was, then that's where your karma is coming from, is what your intent was.
The only issue with that is judges, for some reason, don't care as much about intent.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about happiness.
Yeah, no, not freedom.
No,
not freedom.
No,
because it's what you did that matters.
Exactly.
Like, Mr. Delgado, I know you didn't intend to run over the person.
Yeah. Once again, we're talking about happiness here. We're talking about ways of dealing with life from a spiritual perspective, and part of the skill set that we use to help us achieve cessation of suffering is intent.
So if my intent is always good,
yes.
The happiness comes from,
instead of coming from what it is, the right intentions. Once again, there's two things. You got to stop and start.
Right.
You got to stop coming from anger and greed and fear and lust. Like, stop having that be your motivation to do whatever it is that you're about to say or do, and instead come from love, compassion, generosity, and kindness.
Okay, but what if it's but temporary is okay, right? Like, if I want to come out of anger just for 30 minutes.
We're all unskillful at a certain point.
But I'm choosing to be unskillful sometimes. So what I'm saying is overall, as a spiritual concept, right?
Right.
Are you trying to get rid of all of those, I don't want to say, you don't call them bad intentions, but all the intentions that are negative?
Well,
completely?
You're not really getting
rid
of
them. Like never anger?
Well, the goal and enlightenment, if you will, is to never even have that in the first place.
Oh, okay,
because you're coming from that perspective. Having said that, I have yet to reach enlightenment.
I don't want to.
And I've never met anybody else that has either.
Yeah, you shouldn't want that. You shouldn't want that.
So the anger is one thing, allowing it to come and allowing it to go.
Yeah.
It comes, whatever it is, and
then
goes.
Pull it back.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're not living in it, essentially. You're not letting that guide your whole day. It's okay to get angry, but even in moments of anger, if you really stop and be honest with yourself, the anger came from what your expectation was.
Exactly.
And that's the point I'm getting at. We're all unskillful. Things happen, but it's important that we recognize that unskillfulness.
I say that not to be funny, but so you don't beat yourself up over a bit. You know what I mean? In other words, like, okay, you had it, but then that's when you use some of the other stuff that we've already discussed.
Yes. Once again, these are all skills. So these are things that you get better at.
Right.
When I first started my spiritual journey, if you will, I sucked. I was bitter. I was angry. I was.
Sometimes you still do. But.
I do, absolutely. And so what I used to joke with people was, where I'm at now in my practice is I'll step off the path, if you will, but it'd be like like a foot. Like I'll step off and I get back on.
Exactly.
But when I first started, I was like 6 states over. That kind of I was way off the path, and so but it took me years.
Yeah.
In intentional practice to get to this point, because my goal, if you will, was to achieve enlightenment.
Right.
My goal is to find that happiness, if you will, and so doing the things necessary to get to that point just makes sense.
It sounds like you are talking about mindfulness now.
I'm getting there.
Okay. Is that another one? Should I wait?
Yes.
Okay.
And hopefully we'll get to that one today. We might not. This might be a 3-part series, guys.
I'm quiet.
No, that's good.
I'm just saying because when you say my intentions, it seems like a mindfulness kind of conversation right there. Whereas at least I know my intentions were bad.
Right.
So regardless of whether I had a reason to do what I did,
well,
my intentions were bad. Or not bad. My intentions were motivated by something very negative, and it was only going to lead to some sort of problem.
Exactly.
Right.
And let me preface this by saying, especially to you, because I don't think we've actually had this specific conversation. But knowing that you come from the addiction world and 12 steps and things, right? You work them in sequential order.
Right.
With this one, you work on them all at the same time. So in other words, I have to list them in a certain order.
Juggling.
Yeah. because there's some you're going to be better at than others, and they all kind of feed off of one another. So it's not like you work on this one until you master it, and then it's not quite how it works.
I can go right to catching the fly.
Yeah. But in order to discuss it, we have to put them in some sort of an order.
Right.
So anyways, so right intent, once again, the best one I think I've ever said, and I'm sure I've said it on the show on previous ones, but the best example I use for intent is you walk into a gym or something like that, and there's a gentleman sitting on a bench shadowboxing with his eyes closed, and he's shadowboxing, he's got headphones on, he can't hear, he can't see, he's just shadowboxing doing his thing, and you choose to walk right in front of this person and you get hit. You're most likely not going to say, oh, this person hit me. No, they didn't hit you. You walked right in front of them doing that. And that's the thing with life is, once again, with intent, we're going through life and everybody's unskillfully handling things, and you just so happen to walk in front of it and get some.
That's because you're a dumbass.
The perfect example would be, like with the morning we've been having, right?
Right.
So the morning we've been having has been very difficult. There's been a lot of things. There's a lot of stress happening and a lot of things pulling at us.
Right.
And so, it's possible if we were lesser, it'd be possible if we were less skillful, that we might take it out on somebody when we leave here today. Now, I don't think either one of us will. I think we're both to a point now in our lives where we're able to overcome that. But having said that,
you never know. Let's
say we weren't. We would walk out and let's say somebody catches us out in the parking lot, and we look at them, in an aggressive manner. We say something, what have you. They're going to look at that and say, well, all those guys are pricks. No, it had nothing to do with you. You just, basically, I was already kind of a heat-seeking missile. You just so happened to walk in front of it and catch it. And so that's life.
Not today, son.
And that's life. We have to look at the intent of the people we're dealing with as well as our own intent.
I think you and I both have used the examples for different reasons, and this being your reason. This is where we talk, actually for the exact same reason, of when someone is... you hold the door open for somebody that's going into a store, and sometimes they just completely ignore you, and you create a whole narrative of why they did it. But really, it could be, they're in their own world. You don't know where they're coming from at that moment, so don't create the narrative.
Yeah,
because I used to say, "You're welcome." Yeah, but then I realized, wait a minute, I'm doing it for me, not for them. Well, I'm really not doing it for them. I'm doing it because it's the right thing to do.
The funny, or I don't know if I call it funniest, but the most thought-provoking, if you will, or egregious thing that I've heard of when I've done these groups is whenever somebody does something, there's one phrase that is said more often than not that I always have to correct, and that is, they should know better. And that's the problem. And when it comes to intent, is you're coming from your intention saying, well, that person should know better. Why? You've never met this person. You don't know what they've been through. You don't know what they've been taught. You don't know their perspective on things. You don't know that they should know better. And not only that, but who says they should know better is insinuating that your way is the only way, the correct way, and they're inherently wrong. That's part of the intent. Stop coming from an intention of greed or fear or whatever. Coming from love, compassion, and generosity, meaning I'm going to love that person through whatever they're going on.
If
very hard. It's simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
And so what these skills are, and I you said earlier how sometimes you're going to step off it. So I want to make sure I point this out very clearly.
Right. Nobody
is perfect. That's the thing about this. It's called a path for a reason. In other words, it's not something that you're expected to adhere to like a commandment. This is what your guiding principles are. And so more often than not, as you're going through life, when situations come up, if you've worked on these skills, then that's in your skill set. You'll respond in a skillful manner, which is going to bring you more peace and happiness than aggression and everything else. Are there going to be mistakes? Are there going to be days where you step off the path? Absolutely. Just like other people are going to step off of the path as well. And that's where right intent comes in, is trying to come from that place of compassion, not only for them, but for yourself as well. So if somebody upsets me, I don't want to come from a place of anger and have that my intent when I say or do whatever I'm about to say or do, because all it's going to do is create more happiness for me later on. So I need to have enough compassion for myself to love this person, basically. Love them through it, if that makes sense. So, all right. Next one. This one's a little bit more straightforward, although this was a hard one for a lot of people too.
Oh boy, here we go.
All right, so number 7 for us, or if you're keeping track, number 3 for the Eightfold Path.
What is this, like a score sheet? Like we're watching baseball? Is this a box score?
There's going to be somebody out there who's a purist who's like, this is number 3.
Okay.
So I'm just making sure. I'm trying to prove I know what I'm doing here. And
I'm trying to prove I don't.
Yes.
Apparently.
So, anyways, this is basically, right conduct, right communication, if you will.
Conduct.
Right speech is technically what it's called. Number 7. Next is how we choose to communicate. You need to always check to see if the way you're communicating is both, and I'm going to repeat that, both truthful and useful.
Yes.
What this means is whenever you communicate, now we're talking, typing, social media, email, I don't care what it is. When you're communicating with somebody, you have to make sure that what you say is keeping within the truth of things, with a special understanding that the truth is 360 degrees. Perspective is owned, whereas the actual and complete truth is everyone's. In other words, the actual truth isn't just your perspective, but everyone's perspective. What is true for you is not always true for everyone. Making sure what you communicate is useful is done by checking to see if it helps if it's helpful to the situation or person or not. Sometimes we are overly truthful in an attempt to gain power over another, to belittle them in some way.
Yeah.
The truth should always be helpful or kind. We also should refrain from lying in an attempt to keep from hurting. Finally, the most important person to practice this skill with is yourself. Oftentimes, we speak to and motivate ourselves in ways we would never speak to anyone else. We need to start speaking to ourselves the way we would a loved one, with love and compassion. Always keep in mind that our perspectives about and within ourselves is not always the truth, rather an opinion coming from a fractured perspective. Right. So, I usually boil this down in my groups as whenever you're talking and communicating, truthful and useful.
That's it.
That's kind of how I like it down.
I like that one. Not manipulative and useful only for me.
Truthful and useful. And when we say truthful, we got to understand everybody's truth is slightly different. So that's why I said truth is 360. We got to remember, like, just because you think it a certain way and you see it a certain way doesn't mean it's the truth. Mm-hmm. It is a truth, but you have to leave room. And God, I can't stress this enough, especially in today's climate with politics and everything else. Other people's perspectives are just as true to them as they are to you.
More than one version of the truth can be true.
Yes.
Like, in both perspectives
yes
are true for the way you're using it.
Yes.
Right? Because some people give you half a story.
Yes.
Or think of, yes, that's true.
Well, like what I used to say was, perfect example, even this show.
Well, you always say both things can be true.
Well, this show right now, right? There's people watching the show, and they're going to go away, and they would hopefully tell their friend that they watched something.
Right.
What they're going to tell them might be different than what another person tells that they've learned from it.
Right.
They're both true.
Well, I don't know. They both
took something from it.
One might be a lie.
No, what they got from it, man. So like, there was a proverb one time, I don't remember what it was, but it was essentially, if a colorblind person looks at a flower and sees a specific color in their own mind, a dog looks at that thing and sees black and white. Mm-hmm. Somebody else looks at it, who has like these amazing eyes and some ability to see colors that we don't have words for yet, and they all say it's a certain color. Who's telling the truth? They all are.
They all are.
Because that's what they all see.
Right.
If I see that your shirt you're wearing is white, no matter what somebody else comes in and tells me and says it's red, I'm going to tell them, no, I see white. Even though they could actually technically see red, we're both true. And so that's the thing when it comes to that. So truthful is one way, and the other part is usefulness. That's where I think a lot of people get caught up on, is it useful?
Right.
Right. So back when I was doing...
and what is it useful for, really? Is it useful just so you can get what you want?
Exactly. So when I used to do like my fitness groups and stuff, I would do boot camps. And if somebody did like an absolute perfect burpee, which you're crazy if you did, because
I wish I could do a perfect burpee right now.
If somebody could do the best one, that means somebody probably did the worst one. And so would it be useful for me to go tell that person, hey, you know what? I've been doing this for a long time. I just want to tell you, you got the worst burpee I've ever seen. Is it truthful in my perspective? Sure. But is it useful? Is that person going to walk away from that interaction and think, oh, thank you so much. It's awesome. No, man, it's not useful. No. And so that's where the whole truthful and useful. And that's probably the easiest way to boil down communication is anytime you open your mouth, send a text message, write a Facebook post, an email. Anytime you're going to communicate, just ask yourself, is it truthful and is it useful? And if it's not both, don't do it.
Do you remember, not to take us off track, but I saw a squirrel. Do you remember the first year that you were my co-host on the Couch Live and you did the perfect burpee on the show? Not a perfect, but you remember when I asked you, like, what does a burpee look like? And you did it for our YouTube segment.
Okay.
Back, like 8 years ago on the Couch Live.
I remember doing push-ups with you on my back, though.
You did do push-ups with, by the way, with me on his back.
Yeah, it was like,
that's when I was
21 of them, I think.
And that's when I was almost 200 pounds.
But anyways, and so the last part of right speech and this is, some could argue this is one of the most important ones, and it is the best, the most important person to have that right speech with is yourself.
Yes.
Because too often times we will look at ourselves and be like, oh, I'm so stupid, and I can't believe I did this again, and what's wrong with me? I'm an idiot. Yeah. You know, we would never do that to that, like that little brother or sister or that loved one.
Whoa.
No.
You never did it with your brother.
Well,
you weren't
I wasn't
exactly.
Really
you weren't raised with.
My point is, though, as an adult, if your little brother would have come up to you, or like somebody who looked up to you, respected you, really, like an 8-year-old would have come up to you right now.
Oh, now you made him real young. My brother would not be 8 years old. I'm 49.
You're the one who put that high up, not me. I just said little brother. You're the one who put an age limit on it.
No, you said 8.
No, but you were automatically thinking like 40 years old.
I'm thinking brother.
Okay.
No, you're the one that put the relationship. If I have, listen, I'm 49 years old. If I have a little brother, my mom and dad.
You don't know that.
My dad could probably. My dad's still shooting, but my mom, she's out of the picture.
So, anyways, my point being is, if a loved one that we truly respected and looked up to us and we cared for were to come up to us and they're really distraught and hurt at that moment, and they're like, "Oh, I'm so stupid," would you then be like, "Yeah, you're pretty stupid.
Off.
You're an idiot. You're stupid." No, we probably wouldn't do that. We probably help them understand it. We probably talk them through it, give them some compassion.
Not in my family. Stupid was my middle name.
Well, that explains.
Come on, Louis. Don't be stupid. Stupid is the way my dad would say it. Stupid.
So my point is, we have to approach ourselves with that same love and compassion. We have to understand, we have to forgive ourselves, for instance, for what we didn't know, kind of a thing. So approaching ourselves with that same love and compassion. Because the way we motivate ourselves is typically not the way we motivate our loved one. It just isn't. The way I would talk to myself is not the way I would talk to my wife.
It's different kinds of coaches. And I've had coaches that are nice. I've had coaches that, they want to punch you.
Yeah, but they're also not trying to help you find peace and happiness. They're trying to help you.
So everything goes back to that. See, that's the thing.
The philosophy itself in Buddhism, guys, is not supposed to give answers, and it's not the right answer for everything. Its sole purpose, and anybody who says anything other than that, is to help stop suffering.
See, I got to remember that part of it, because you can't use it in everyday scenarios that don't involve peace and happiness.
Well, you can, because your goal should be peace and happiness.
Well, I know, because right there you just told me how you motivate somebody, and I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. I'm not. I personally am not motivated by, oh, you did great, keep going, just a little bit faster next time. But I am motivated by a little smack talking.
Sure.
In sports, to me,
sure. Yeah, I mean,
I love smack talking in sports.
Yeah, in a competitive situation, sure.
Yeah. But that's not competing for happiness.
Yeah, happiness is not competitive.
All right, I just had to separate.
Yeah,
I just had to separate it.
At the end of the day, this is all supposed to stop suffering. That's it.
Right.
That's the only goal of it.
Right.
It's not going to give answers.
Losing is suffering, so
it can be. It doesn't have to be. Once again, suffering's a mindset.
So we lost.
If your happiness is predicated only on winning or losing, then you're going to have a really miserable life. It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love to win as much as everybody else, but my happiness is not predicated on that.
And your San Francisco 49ers are winning this year, boy.
They beat the hell out of them.
I bet you're a lot more happy. I bet
I'm experiencing more joy, and I'm more satisfied.
And I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, so I'm using my skills a lot more this year.
But anyways, all right. So on to the next. Unless there's any more questions on that one.
No.
All right, we were on number. What were we on? All right, now we're on number 8.
We're on
number 8
path.
For us, number 8, so which is number 4, the Eightfold Path.
See,
good job.
Told you.
This one's actually pretty straightforward. This next key refers to our actual actions. Our actions need to represent our philosophies. So often, our actions in life contradict our own beliefs. Therefore, we need to ensure that before we act, we ask ourselves, is this in line with who I want to be, or will this create more or less suffering in my life? It's not enough to think about or even say all the right things. We all need to actually do the next right thing.
Amen.
And so, essentially,
people just act like they do all good and that everything they do is right. And it's like, but I just saw what you did.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Is we as the Dharma Guy and the Dope Doctor, we are we're relatively public in the sphere, and people look at us.
Right.
We offer guidance, if you will, to certain individuals, and so if we were to be on the news tomorrow, whooping somebody's butt for taking our parking spot, pretty sure we get a lot of responses like, "Those guys are full of it."
I'd say he relapsed.
Yeah, right. So my whole point. And that whole thing is called right action, is what it's called. And your actions have to line up with it.
Yeah.
In other words, you can have these epiphanies in rooms and in conversations with people. It all means nothing if you walk out the door and do the exact same behavior you were doing
before. Just do the deal, man. Just do the deal.
Talk the talk and walk the walk.
Right. I mean, don't just talk it. I mean, I think that's why we enjoy each other so much, is because both of us know that we do the deal as best we can.
Yeah.
And so it's good to be around people that don't just talk the thing.
Yeah.
Just do the damn thing.
Do it. And so I think that's part of the skills, right? So it's not enough to just say I want enlightenment. It's not enough to say that this is what we should do, but every time presented with an opportunity to illustrate those skills, you instead revert back to prior behavior and do whatever you're doing, and then wonder why you keep getting the same. Well, you got to actually do it.
Yeah, and blame it on their luck.
Yeah,
my luck. That's my life. FML. Right? Is that so? I can't say that. Yeah.
So on to the next one.
Yeah.
So this is number 9 for us.
Man, we're like flying through. Have you noticed that? Simon says.
That's right, Simon. Well, this one's going to be. I can see how this one can start some debate.
Okay.
This is one of the most highly debated ones I've ever had in group.
And you're still fuzzy on YouTube.
Uh-oh. All right. So this one here is number 5 of the Eightfold Path, and number 9 for us, and that is so much. I'm going to preface. I know there's going to be debate.
There's going to be debate with me.
I can see debate happening.
All right.
I can just see you
prepare.
I think you agree with it.
Okay.
But I think you're going to do what you do and play devil's advocate and approach it in a different way. And in the end, I think you're going to agree.
I think you just called me an asshole. But that's
so.
Okay.
So much of our lives is spent at work that we need to ensure that how we make our living doesn't add to the harm and suffering to the world or to our very own lives. It's extremely difficult to try and walk a spiritual path and reap those rewards while earning a living directly from others' suffering. Therefore, our intent while earning a living should come from proper motivation as well. So, basically, the way I used to kind of rephrase this, if you will, in my groups is don't be a dick for a living, is what I used to say.
Why would I argue with that? Wait a minute. Now I'm offended.
Hold on, we're getting there.
Okay.
So what that means is, for instance, the one of the examples that would be used is like being a bartender.
Okay.
So some people would want to be a bartender because it's easier, you can make good money.
Right.
But you're also potentially benefiting from other people's misery, other people's suffering.
Okay.
Because not everybody can handle that alcohol as well.
Okay.
And so what I am.
But that person's not being a dick. They're doing their job.
I agree. But you're potentially benefiting off of other people's misery. And so what they're saying is.
And happiness. Some people are happy. Look, this coming from someone in recovery.
Maybe.
Some people are pretty damn happy drinking.
Maybe. Maybe. They think that they're happy. Remember, did we have that study where it's actually all face? What you thought going into it was what you're going to get?
Yeah, but what you think sometimes becomes your reality. So
maybe. My whole point with this, though, is it's the way I explain it in a less controversial way for some others.
Okay.
Is, if you're trying to have a spiritual life and you're trying to find, once again, enlightenment, inner peace, and things of that nature, it's best to avoid situations that could cause suffering for others. So, for instance, when I'll say, like...
don't be a drug dealer.
Don't be a drug dealer is one I always use. That's the easiest one that people go from. Right. But then, like, the questions I would always give is, like, what if you worked for Big Pharma? And there's people out there abusing and stuff. And the way I explained it is it comes down to intent. In other words, if your intent was, hey, I don't care if people are misusing drugs. I just want to make money. I don't care.
Right.
That might not be the best way to provide peace and happiness for you.
I'm just providing a service.
But if you went into it saying, look, I had a loved one that was really struggling with pain, and I saw how much it helped them, and I want to be a part of that.
Right.
Yes, there's people out there abuse it, but my intent in getting into this field is to do that. That's a different perspective. That's a different outlook. In other words, back to the whole drug dealer thing, it's very hard to try to walk a spiritual lifestyle and come from love and compassion and generosity while you're making money off of people's direct suffering and misery.
I think everybody's making money off people's suffering.
Yeah, nowadays they are.
I don't know many jobs that don't involve someone suffering some way. Even if you sell hamburgers for a living, a person comes up to you and wants a free burger and you don't give it to them. For what they have to do for that $1 to get to buy that burger or whatever. Right. Is something that hurts them. So if you really want to get philosophical about it, everyone makes money off someone's suffering. We just all define that suffering differently.
Sure.
Or justify it differently.
Well, like in the addiction world, right? Like
everybody wants free stuff.
Somebody's
got to work.
Well, somebody doesn't come to you unless they're suffering, unless they're dealing with a pain, if you will, right?
Yeah, in treatment, I mean, of course, you make money
You
off
got to remember,
people's
though,
suffering.
well, there's a difference. No, you make money off of trying to heal stupid
Yeah,
suffering.
yeah, but their suffering is what provides the whole thing. So it's like
their pain does.
You know, and so there's purists, the real purists of the 12-step philosophy back in the day. When I first became a counselor, they're like, oh, I just give it away. You charge people. I mean, this is back in 1990.
Right.
It was like, bro, I mean, everyone charges someone for something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we felt bad. It was like, man, it's hard to ask for money for something that was given so freely to you. But it wasn't, because there's a certain methodology that you use, plus you do the compliments of the free stuff. So, but there are people out there that don't like the whole payment for treatment.
Well, I do need to readdress, this is where we get into semantics, if you will.
Okay.
There is a real difference in this philosophy between pain and suffering.
Right.
Pain is the stuff in life, the things that happen. Suffering we do to ourselves.
Right. I like that.
And so the thing is, I cannot make somebody else suffer. I can create an environment that helps it, but I can't actually make you suffer.
Fosters it.
Like I'm not in direct relationship with your relationship to yourself.
Right.
In other words, I can't take your suffering away from you, no matter how much I'd want to. All I can do is just not add to it.
Right. Like I can't cause your addiction, but I can add to it.
Correct. Yeah, like you don't make somebody addicted, but you don't have to show
the drug dealer doesn't make them addicted.
Exactly.
The bartender doesn't make you an alcoholic.
Correct.
But you're saying they contribute to it.
Yes.
Okay.
And so when it comes to suffering, at the end of the day, yes, you're not making somebody else suffer, but you're contributing to it in a sense. And so avoid those, if you will. Now, there's some gray areas, obviously, and what I used to always say with this one, because this was hotly debated at times, depending on who was in the room and what they did for a living.
Yeah.
What I would always leave it down to is intent. Because once again, for those of you listening, don't confuse this with commandments. This is not a black and white do or die type thing. This is a philosophy and a path. And so your path is going to look different than my path.
Damn straight.
Like I personally would not work. I would not go be a bartender tomorrow. I just wouldn't do it. Yeah. Why? Because for me personally, I've seen enough heartache from that I would choose to make a living a different way.
Right.
Because I know for me personally, where I'm at now in my life, no matter how much money I'm making, if I served somebody and they got in a car and drove home and killed little Timmy, I personally would feel bad about that.
Yeah.
Where I'm at now in my life. Now, 10 years ago, I wouldn't have given a shit.
Right.
But where I'm at now in my life, it's just not worth it. My inner peace would be impacted by that. And so, because I know that, and that's not the path I'm choosing to walk in life, I'd rather do something different.
And it's not just employment. I mean, it's hard. I'm going to use this example. It's like going to strip clubs before you're healthy and after you're healthy.
Yeah.
Like
all I see is hurt. I see trauma everywhere.
God, I remember that changing. I remember looking at Dana like, man, this world just changed for me. You know what I mean? Because I used to just appreciate it for what it was. Appreciate the whole thing for what it was. Then it became like all I saw was clientele of people suffering and in pain like me. And it was like, trauma. Oh my God.
Trauma and daddy issues everywhere.
I'm not here to do therapy. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So anyways, at the end of the day, when it comes down to the right livelihood, it's just try to do things for a living that are in line with who you're trying to be, basically.
Yeah.
That's really kind of what it boils down to.
I like it. Why'd you think I was going to argue that?
I just figured you would.
No, about like what part? No, seriously.
I figured you would try to find ways of like loopholes, essentially. That's what most people do. And not necessarily you.
So did I exceed your expectations? Because I really didn't.
You did.
I agree.
No, I figured you would agree with me in the end, but I figured to play devil's advocate, I figured you would try to find loopholes. I was wrong.
Yeah, you were.
Anyways, so next
Mark that one down, kids. One for Louis.
Anyways, so number 10 for us is all of these skills require. For those of you keeping track, this is called right effort. This is what the next one's called. This is number
effort.
6. Yeah. Oh, this is a good one. All of these skills require the right amount of balanced effort. Trying to walk the spiritual path and achieve the fulfillment it offers isn't an easy endeavor, to be sure, but possible, if we understand that it is an extremely difficult and worthwhile path. Being careful not to put forth so much effort that we become burnt out and discouraged from the pace. In addition, we must put forth enough effort that we are actually striving for better. It's not enough just to think about it or want it badly. We must take the steps every day to walk a little further down the path of happiness and spiritual fulfillment.
Every day.
We do this through applying these 12 keys of spirituality and checking to see if our actions and thoughts constantly align with these same keys.
Wait a minute, there's 12 keys? Are you serious?
I created 12 keys, but it's 4 truths and 8 full path, which equal 12.
So there were 12.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Are you giving yourself credit for adding up what was already 12?
No, but
Did you just say wait?
It's never promoted as 12.
But there's 12.
There's two completely separate things.
But there's 12.
Yes, there's a total of 12.
Are you the one that called them keys, or were they already keys?
I called them keys. I wrote 12 keys to spirituality because I was trying to find a way of getting the Buddhist philosophy out there, but without calling it Buddhism or without calling it Four Truths and Eightfold Path.
So you coined the 12 keys to what?
I said 12 keys to spirituality.
I like it.
It doesn't mean that it's not out there somewhere, but I didn't see it.
Good job.
And it was actually you who prompted it, by the way.
I did?
It was when I was trying to go around to different treatment facilities. We were trying to figure out a way of getting in there without calling it Buddhism or anything biased, if you will.
I remember that conversation.
So instead of calling it Buddhism or whatever, I just said 12 keys to spirituality. Spirituality as a whole is something nobody can argue. Anyways, so
good job. I like that.
Thank you. So right effort, right? This is
right
a
big
one. This is a big one.
Yeah.
With right effort, you can't put so much effort where like I've had people come to me who've taken a class or whatever or watched a video. And they're gonna they get so fired up. They love it. And they're like, yeah, I'm gonna do tomorrow. They're gonna be the best Buddhist they've ever seen. And something happens, and they inevitably falter.
Right.
And then they get so upset, and they I'm like, hold up. Where I'm at now, even it took me years to get to this. This isn't something I just decided to do, and then boom, tomorrow it's done.
Amen.
No, this is first and foremost. I had to change my goals. Right. My goals were superficially motivated. So my goal now is to find enlightenment.
I had to change my sunglasses.
Yeah. So for me, I changed my whole course and what motivates me to do everything. And then slowly I started kind of adapting these skills.
Right.
That's why they're called skills, because you got to work on them. And so right effort means you got to put forth that effort every day. Right. But not so much that you get burnt out and you can't do it, and not so little that you're just basically laying in bed at night saying, I hope tomorrow's better, and you go to sleep. It doesn't work that way.
No.
The way that they explain it in numerous books and stuff that I've read is like trying to swim upstream. You can't just turn around and just haul ass upstream because you're going to wear yourself out and not go anywhere. But if you go zigzag back and forth, you can inch up a little bit each way.
Yeah. You kayak, right?
Yeah.
Because I may not swim upstream, but I kayak upstream.
Yeah, it's rough. But the like for instance, right? So I've been doing this quite some time now, and I've had the privilege of sharing this with a lot of different people, and I've kept in contact with a lot of them, and the ones that have come to me afterwards saying it doesn't work, saying that I've tried it doesn't work, this doesn't work for me. Inevitably, every single one of them, when I ask them, what are you doing every day to apply this to your life?
Right.
It's crickets. There's nothing.
Yep.
In other words, they don't read a passage every day. They don't meditate. They don't somehow, some way incorporate this into your everyday life. Right. They don't do it.
It's like people that say, I've tried everything to get clean and sober, but they really have not done the first 3 steps properly. They haven't let that go. They don't have that other thing. Right. And they haven't embraced it the way. They haven't accepted the disease concept part of it. They haven't accepted the higher power concept of it. And so you're right. There's a lot of people that are frustrated with their life out there, but they don't do something every day to change it other than find something in the world that validates their negative space.
You're best thinking guy you hear.
Yeah. Yeah, but then you validate it over and over.
Yeah.
It's like if everything you see is a Tootsie Roll and the Tootsie Roll is not helping you grow.
Yeah.
That's why I said I had to change my sunglasses.
Yeah, man.
I really did.
And so right effort is people look at like people who've known me in my past, they look at the growth that I've had in my life.
Right.
And a lot of them are like, wow, that's amazing. And some of them I've inspired to want the same thing. But what they don't see is how many hours and hours and hours I've spent reading different books. There's an 8-hour documentary that I watched for the Dalai Lama. It's called The Four Truths.
Yeah, it's a little bit long.
No, it's ridiculously long, but I loved every minute of it.
Yeah.
I've watched. I've consumed so much. I mean, I turned myself into the Dharma Guy.
Yeah.
I mean, it literally took over my life. And so those two things aren't mutually exclusive. Like, it's not a coincidence that I've achieved less suffering in my life, and I've adapted so much and made it such a huge part of my life.
Can you get with HBO and make it into a show? Because they know how to make
that'd be nice,
things into shows that are
HBO
very watchable.
Hook me up.
So
hook me up, man.
So make it into an HBO show.
I would like that,
and then we'll get it actually. But it has to be like real events where this kind of
right. Yeah.
Where this kind of comes in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, so right effort is God, it is such a huge one. Like it really, that's what I mean. You don't work
as opposed to no effort.
Well, yeah.
Or same effort.
Well, the
right?
point is you don't put.
What's the opposite? What's the opposite of right effort?
Wrong effort, I guess. Like no effort.
No, nothing's wrong. Remember?
Yeah, I mean, but the thing, that's what I was telling you earlier. You don't go from 1 to 2 to. They're all kind of, because without effort, none of those other ones are going to matter, right? So you have to have effort, and you have to have the right amount of effort. You can't put so much effort where you burn yourself out trying to be the perfect little Buddhist or the perfect whatever tomorrow. It's not going to happen. But it can't be the other end of the spectrum where there's no effort. You just float around the stream. You got to kind of, put the right amount of effort.
And what I would add to this whole deal, if I was talking about it, because in my space of me doing groups and stuff like that, was to talk about action. You have to put some action to it, and then you do it. You don't try. Because I think we get behind the word try and defend ourselves.
I love
all the time.
I still have that video when you were at my the Get Fit weekend.
Right.
When you told the person to try to grab the pin on your hand.
Right.
You said try to grab it. You're like, no, you're being successful. Try it.
Yeah. Stop being so damn successful. Because you either just do it or you don't do it. Now you could fail doing it.
Sure.
And then you have to deal with that. But let's learn how to deal with that failure of doing it.
Yeah.
Because that's going to happen. But you go into it doing. But if you go to it in a mindset of trying, that's not effort. Trying and effort means you're doing it, but you're it's not always getting there. But it's the energy expended.
Well, and it's the intent.
Your brain can actually picture effort.
Yeah, and
you
it's
can
the
picture
intent.
that.
You set your intent to I'm going to get this done,
right.
And I'm gonna figure out ways every day to do it.
Right.
Like for instance, for myself, right? And we're not gonna get to the other two, by the way. We're going to have to do a part.
I had nothing to do with that, Sir Simon.
No, but we're also trying. This is 3,000 years worth of history. We're trying to cram into an hour, so like rightfully so.
It could be done.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Be real boring though.
Yeah. So we're going to save the next two probably for next week. Okay. So let's finish up with this one.
All right.
With the right effort. So here's an example of right effort for me.
Okay.
So I was very angry, bitter. Blamed the world for everything. And I was stuck in that whole, why is everybody doing this to me? It's all, these people are just stupid, blah, 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 right? Well, I started to get into this philosophy myself because once again, I got to a point in my life where I was like, dude, this sucks, man. Like, I got tired of being tired. I got tired of being pissed off all the time.
Tired of being sick and
tired.
Yeah,
man. I got tired of dealing with people. I got tired, like, why am I, if I'm so great and so awesome, then why am I so pissed off all the time? Like, why is everything working so poorly around me?
Right.
And then I had to kind of finally admit that it wasn't this person. It wasn't my supervisors. It was me. It was my perspective. It was the way I was approaching things. It was the way, what I valued in things and how I approached it. It was me.
Man in the mirror.
Yeah. And so
Michael Jackson changed your life.
I'm going to leave that one alone. So anyway, so I got into this philosophy. I started reading about it. And what I liked about it is the onus was on me. The onus was saying, look, man, fix it then.
That means something could be done.
Yeah.
That's the hope.
That was the third truth is still my favorite thing, is you don't have to do this, dude.
No.
Like, there is another way.
Yeah.
And so for me, when I found out there was another way, it was like a firecracker went off. I was like, holy shit.
Amen.
So I just started immersing myself. I started reading. And what it was is I had a book at the time that was kind of like my introduction to all this. And as I started reading it, it started to make sense to me on an intellectual level. I didn't necessarily agree with all the hippie compassion, love, I didn't agree with all that at the time. To me, I like the idea of not suffering anymore. So I was like, all right, well, let me figure this shit out. Let me go ahead and try it. Because I can't tell you, like, my integrity won't let me tell you it doesn't work if I know I didn't actually try it. So let me go ahead and prove this wrong, because this is all stupid. Let me go ahead and do it, and just so I can tell everybody it doesn't work. And so what I would do is I would read like a chapter a day. Like I was working nights at the time. I had kids. I was trying to get a business off the ground.
Right.
So I would come home. I would set aside like an hour or two a night, and I would just read. I would read what I can get through. Like I wasn't reading it to finish it. I was reading to understand it. So some nights I would only get through like 2 pages, because for me this was such a foreign way of thinking. And like at first I was like, this is stupid. So I had to really kind of like, all right, what do they mean by that? How do I apply this? And then as I would learn lessons or as I would learn tools, what I would do then is I would find ways the next day to apply it. And my life sucked at the time, so I had no shortage of opportunities to apply these things.
Lots of things to practice on.
So all day long, an opportunity would come to me, and I would think to myself, all right, how would I normally handle this? Okay. Based upon what I'm learning now, how would I handle the situation now? And so I would try to apply what I was learning. And the craziest things started happening. I would still walk away from that situation thinking the person I was talking to was a complete idiot and I didn't agree with anything they said, but I was okay with it.
Right.
Like I walked away thinking, whatever. Like it just didn't bother me anymore. Whereas before, I thought they were an idiot, and I need to tell them, and I need to prove them. I need to fix it. Like, this is stupid. No, you're gonna know. Whereas now I was like, okay, whatever. I would just walk away and be like, I was fine. So the only thing that changed in that interaction was my mindset walking away from it. And I just started feeling better every day. Like, things just started mattering less. And so every day I would read more and practice more. And when I finished the book, I read it again. And then when I read that book, I don't know how many times. And then I started searching out more books that would go deeper into it, videos, documentaries. I started talking to people. So every day, and that to me is right effort. It was something that meant something to me. I did it. I felt a little bit good from it, and I kept doing it more and more. I found ways to make it a more active part of my life every day. And that, my friends, is right effort. And that's what I mean by right effort. I didn't just say, I didn't just get it. Yeah, I didn't just be like, oh, my life sucks. I wish it was better, and then wake up tomorrow and do my normal routine. Right. Kind of no, like that's not going to work. You nurtured the little ember. You gave it oxygen. You gave it other things to burn. Yeah, and you grew the fire. And as great as I think our content is and our videos are, you can't just watch this video and your life is going to be different tomorrow. It's not going to happen. No, you got to watch it 50 times. Exactly. But after you watch it, if you get something from this, share it with your friends, do whatever. Right. Let people know what you're learning. And I mean, of course, sharing it helps us, of course. But what I'm saying is, when you share it with your friends, you're putting that on the map now. It's no longer just a thought. Like, you're letting people know, this is what I'm interested in. This is what I'm trying to do. You're creating almost accountability for yourself. And then every day, try to work towards it. Find ways of implementing it. I like it. And you'll start to see your life will change. Like, your perspective will start to kind of mold a little bit. Things that used to be important, things that used to upset you won't anymore. Like, and that's how you start to walk a spiritual life. Spirituality is just bigger than yourself. It's not the materialistic things in front of you. Not to say that we don't still have goals and we want to accomplish things, but my mindset is just completely different, and that's through effort. So I think that's we're running out of time there, bro. Yeah, you got like 2 minutes. I like it because you're talking about doing today, and actually, that's one of my biggest things. Is make it do what it do. I think there's a lot of people out there that think that they're doing something, and you're just not always doing as much as you think you are. What you're doing is the same thing you did before. It's not working, but instead of reassessing the situation and giving in to that's just not working. Let me do something else. Right. When you do something else, you tend not to give it the same amount of effort, or you tend not to stick around long enough to let it happen. And I think that when you talk about this effort, it's very key to in order for something to become part of your lifestyle. You just got to do it over and over and over and over until you get what you know is possible. Yeah. It's out there. Recovery is possible. Happiness is possible. Success is possible. All these things are things that are in arm's reach. But when you sit back and you blame someone else for all of the negative and the failures, you're not allowing yourself to adapt or change at all, because you're waiting for someone else to be different, or you're waiting for them to be right. That is my issue with the direction we're kind of going as a culture right now. If you watch TV right now or look at timelines, all you see is other people nitpicking other people's actions, behaviors, or words, and saying, if they weren't doing that, we'd be better. If they weren't doing that, the world would be better. No, what you're doing is focused on other people's actions. Just be a better in your action. Yeah. Just do better in your action and stop calling other people out. They're them, you're you, but pointing out their issues is not making the situation any better, and it's definitely not making you any better. And that is part of the problem. Yeah. So I love action. Thank you very much, Trini. I think you did a good job today, man. Yeah, I'm turning my mic off. You close it up. Yeah, well, I mean, I will not do 3 more tips today because we're not done with everything. Oh. So I think I'd say watch part 1 if you need to refresh. This is now part 2, and next week will be part 3, where we will finish up the last couple basics and probably rehash a majority of it. In the meantime, if you guys have any questions or comments, concerns, thoughts, anything, feel free to reach out through social media or on our YouTube channels, things of that nature. If there's ever a specific topic that you'd like to hear, or a specific situation you want some thoughts on, by all means, reach out. And you can do that on @WPSN99, @The Dharma Guy, and @The Dope Doctor. I think that's all we have. So now that you know better, do better. Peace. Are you still here? What are you doing? I told you, go do better.